the Met Gala. No one is forcing these people to give them their money. It's private. Okay, take it away. What are these rich people gonna spend their money on?
Spend it directly on social change, how about that?
That would be the perfect thing, but are they gonna actually do that? What it does is it funds cultural preservation. This art has meaning to people.
Capitalism is at a point where it can absorb the critique of itself and recommodify it back to us. Where does that leave us?
Welcome to Think Twice. This is your favorite show. My name is Benz.
My name's Sam Tef.
And today is another net positive or not. It's kind of worked well for us, so we're sticking with it. You haven't told us you hate it, so here we go. And we're gonna start off with the Met Gala. To discuss the Met Gala, it's probably best I give some historical context. Essentially, there is something called the Costume Institute. The Costume Institute basically preserves and looks after costumes, essentially art. It puts on exhibitions of fashion. And the Costume Institute got moved into the Metropolitan Museum of Art in about 1947, but it had to fund itself. So how did it fund itself? It thought, okay, let's fundraise for people that care about this bit of art, these costumes. And that's how the Met Gala sort of began. In the first few years of it, people didn't really dress up to a theme. It was just there, they give money, they support this cause, they care about the costumes. And then as the years have sort of continued, in 2015, Rihanna wore a particular dress. And that dress sort of changed things. And people started to care more about what people were wearing. And as of today, that is a lot of what the conversation is about.
Yeah.
As of recently, I think it's made more than $30 million. Per event. So it makes a lot of money for the Costume Institute. And that is sort of a quick historical reflection of the Met Gala.
Whatever the Met Gala was before, right now is a celebration of celebrity culture, a display of opulence and excess. And for that reason, for me, is a net negative. I think we don't need that display of wealth and that excess. And ultimately, the way I judge these things, especially on net negative or not, is this a net positive for society? Is the overall impact of this event or what the Costume Institute does, is it doing something to impact society in a positive way? And this is basically just a private fundraiser for the Costume Institute. It's not explicitly for positive social change. So I don't see how it can benefit us to have the Met Gala. Now, that said, I think there's one particular exception, which is the 2024 Met Gala that I'll discuss in a bit more detail. But before we get into that, I wanna hear, what do you think? Is it net positive or net negative?
That was a compelling argument. But I think it's a net positive.
Really? You're gonna struggle, bro. You're gonna struggle to justify this one.
I sort of went backwards. I was like, why would it be a net negative, right?
Right.
So the display of wealth is probably the major issue as to why it's a net negative, right?
Yeah. And I would say the celebration of celebrity culture. So the idealization of the Rihanna in the dress photo, that moment, and elevating people to that sort of status, I think has negative impacts.
Of course.
Particularly for young people.
But what it does is it funds cultural preservation, right? That's basically that's the idea behind it. This art has meaning to people. It don't have meaning to me. It don't have meaning to you, but it has meaning to someone, obviously, because they be making a lot of money. And I feel like cultural preservation is something I hold in quite high regard.
But you said that it doesn't mean much to you. So why would you hold that particular
Not
form?
that particular one, but cultural preservation.
As a whole?
Yeah, because when we discuss net positive or not, we're not discussing my own, how I feel about it. It's supposed to we're supposed to factor in everything, right?
Yeah, of course.
Exactly. And it uses the money to sort of support a public institution, which is the museum. So when I factor all of that in, I'm like, is that a bad thing? No one is forcing these people to give them their money. all the money is private. It's private. It's not public funding. It goes to public funding. It's a donation, and it's sort of like, okay, take it away. What are these rich people going to spend their money on?
They've got plenty of things they can spend their money on. Spend it directly on social change. How about that?
That would be the perfect thing. But are they going to actually do that? That's what I'm basically saying. It's sort of like, well, these rich people have this money that they want to spend, and it's not going to something like bad. I don't think it's the best use of the money, but who am I to tell someone else how to spend their money? And that's why I think it has to kind of, really, like, I was going back and forth, is this a net positive or not? Because really and truly, it's not for the betterment of society. Society isn't better as a result of it. But to call it a net negative, it didn't feel right to me, because it's private people giving their money to a cause to help preserve art.
Do you know specifically how they preserve art? Like, what are they actually doing with that money? Do you know?
Because like the materials degrade, because it's like wearable costumes, right?
Yeah, the costumes that the celebs wear.
No, it's not the costumes that the celebs wear. It's like, it's not simply just that. It's like they basically put on exhibitions of art from many generations ago till today. And it's supposed to like intersect with identity, history, politics, and you basically create art around that.
Okay.
And they basically have to preserve that, and it costs money to do that.
30 M's a year?
This is way too much money, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? That's a lot of cash.
That's a lot of money.
And I think going back to that question you asked about, like, what would these people spend their money on? And I think, to be clear, I think it's also companies as well that donate to the Met Gala in it's not just like private rich individuals. I think it's also companies.
Yeah, in 1999 they started. So before 1999, it was sort of an individual sort of thing. And then 1999 came, and Anna Wintour took over. Well, she didn't take over then, but that's the first time that she started the sponsorships. Okay. So like companies could buy a table.
Yeah. And these tables are going for like 400K, 300K today, which is
very expensive.
A stupid amount of money.
It's always been like a sort of elitist function. Before it was just for like socialites, right? Like New York socialites, and they come along and they pay this money, and they're involved in this sort of society, this community. Whilst like now it's a bit more corporate.
Yeah. But I think going back to what you were saying about this money, this 30 million, what can we do with the 30 million if they weren't going to spend it there in a realistic sense? Last year, there was a TikToker called Hailey Khalil, right? She goes to the Met Gala. She dresses up as Marie Antoinette. That's her costume. For a bit of context, Marie Antoinette was the last Queen of France, right? She spent loads of money, like, I think it was, in today's money, it'd be like £3 million on clothes. And around the time that she was queen, there was starvation in France, right? This was like the precursor to the French Revolution. So the people are upset. They want political change, and they're starving. They don't have bread. She's told that the French people are starving and they don't have bread. And she very famously says, let them eat cake. And that sort of story, whether she actually said that or not is very debatable. But it showed, that story was meant to highlight the disconnect that the French monarchy had with the people. But not only the disconnect, but the disdain that the ruling class had for working class people and peasantry. That story encapsulated the sort of inequality and like the divide between the haves and the have-nots. Now, going back to the Met Gala 2024, Hailey Khalil, she's dressed up as Marie Antoinette. She does a dance and a TikTok sound, and she says, let them eat cake, right? Into the camera. And she posts that on TikTok. Now, that caused a massive backlash, right?
It wasn't like satire or like...
It wasn't satire. It was like she was flexing.
Oh!
She was flexing as Marie Antoinette, playing the part of Marie Antoinette and saying, let them eat cake.
You know, I thought that story was going like, in a way that she was like symbolizing how wrong this thing is. I thought that's what she was.
No. It was literally just...
I didn't see that coming.
It was straight down the barrel of the camera, let them eat cake. And people just felt like violated, like you're laughing in our faces. Do you know what I mean? Basically, there was a bit of a like digital revolution that started off with that. That was the trigger. But a lot of people sort of were trying to divest from celebrity culture as a result of like...
And rightly so.
Rightly so. A lot of people described it as the Hunger Games, and it resulted in something called Blackout 2024. You might have remembered it, where loads of people would block and unfollow all of the celebrities that they felt weren't voicing the political opinion that they felt that the celebrity should have, because they've got massive platforms. You're at the Met Gala, and while you're saying let them eat cake down the barrel of the camera, people are dying in Palestine. And a lot of people wanted them to donate money to the cause in Palestine. So part of that 2020, the Blackout 2024, was trying to get celebrities to do the thing that people felt that they needed to. So I guess my point is that through that sort of, action, it's a micro action, it's not much, but you can get the celebrities and the companies and the people at the Met Gala to highlight the problems that you feel are important. You can direct that money to the Gaza Relief Fund. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And people did actually do that as a result. Celebrities came out, they apologized, they were like, I'm so sorry, because they're looking at their comments, they're looking at their follower counts go down. And yes, Blackout 2024 didn't change the world. And the place that we're at right now is not much different from where we were in 2024. But in today's Met Gala 2025, we're definitely going to have a bit more of a political slant. Like, the way that celebrities are going to conduct themselves at the Met Gala this year is definitely going to be different as a result of what happened last year.
Yeah.
So I think it's fine for the people to voice their concern and try to adapt the behavior of that 30 million. Try and get it pointed to the things that they care about. You can get the money in the right places.
It's tough though, right?
I know it's tough. And
well, just because it was set up for something.
But the Met Gala has always been a place for performative political action. There was a year that AOC turned up to the Met Gala. She had on a white dress, and across the white dress it said "Eat the Rich." You might remember that.
I think so. Yeah, I think
so. Caused a massive stir because some people were like, "Oh, AOC, she's for the people," and other people were like,
"Well, you're there.
Yeah, you're at the Met Gala. Yeah. You're with the rich people. You're kind of rich yourself." Yeah. So it's always been a place for some sort of performative political action. I guess the question is, do we want them to do that performance and potentially not actually do the thing of activism? Or do we want them to just if you're not gonna be about it, then don't talk about it? Because I think they should perform. The whole thing's a performance.
Yeah, they should perform. Might as well perform. They should at least perform.
Yeah, at the very least.
At the very least perform.
You know what I mean? And I think if we can get the money directed as well, if they can do actual things on top of that, that's great.
But you can't get the money directed. This is what I mean. I don't get to that point. Because the purpose of the Met Gala is to fundraise for a costume institute. That is the problem.
I get that, and I'm not saying that it's the Met Gala's fault, but I'm saying the people who actually donate to the Met Gala can donate to other things. It's not the Met Gala's fault necessarily.
Yeah, okay.
Because they that's their event. What I think
that's what they think is a need. You know what I mean?
I also think there's an additional question as to what the Costume Institute can do for social change outside of fashion, right? And within fashion, can they help change some of the exploitative practices within fashion? Because that's their realm of expertise.
That's the industry.
You know what I mean? But also, the people are donating the money, surely... And some celebs did. They posted, fundraisers for, causes that they felt they needed to after the fact. But...
I just don't know. I see it as okay, that is one issue that you're solving that I don't really get, but it's important to you, man, solving it. Solve another issue elsewhere. Do you get what I mean? I just don't know about the convergence of loads of different issues coming to this place. That's that issue being solved there. Take initiative and solve another issue.
What do you mean? Are you talking about, who are you talking about? The Met Gala or?
Well, because you're talking about the people, right? The people that donate this money.
And I guess the celebrities as well.
Yeah, and I'm sort of in a sense, someone has to create something else in which funds another problem. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear it. Obviously, there's another side to Blackout 2024, which is the celebrities, right? People looked at those celebrities and they were like, we made you famous. especially someone like Hailey Khalil, who like came up on TikTok, I think people looked at that and they were like, you're using this platform for bullshit. Like, you're using this platform to shit back on us. And I'm not having that. Especially when we're talking about the, the historical context of Marie Antoinette. And I think in that sense, like that event and the backlash to that event, I think for a lot of people, especially like white America, it was probably the first time they were like, I'm actually gonna try to do something about this. And I think obviously prior to that, there's a lot of activism online. There's a lot of people that were trying to protest against certain brands and companies that supported the genocide in Palestine, right? But I think white millennial America, for the first time, looked at their screens and they were like, they're violating us in a way that I don't think they did prior to that moment. And I think in that sense, Met Gala 2024 was a net positive.
Like accidentally a net positive.
Yeah, like they didn't mean for it to happen like that. But honestly, I felt like what happened after that, it was like, people were like, oh, I can actually do shit. Like, and now, again, of one celebrity's 30 million followers, if she lost like 300K, 1%, it's like, it doesn't really matter to them. But there were certain celebrities that came out and apologized and were like, oh, I haven't been politically active. I think the famous one was Lizzo. Lizzo came out and said, sorry guys, like it's been a really like dark time for me, which is why I haven't been politically active. Everyone was like, shut up. But I feel like celebrities felt it a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And I think that was generally a good thing for the internet, even if it didn't really do much. Because who knows, like a few years down the line, like instead of blocking people, people might hit the streets. It's a progression. You hit the streets, that don't work, and there's escalations past that point.
I don't know if that happens, man. The internet's not a real place, bro.
It's very real. It's very real.
That's another
You read the comments, no?
That's not a real place. Man.
No, it's a real place.
It's not a real place.
Hey guys, you read the comments, man.
Alright, cool. On to the second one, net positive or not. And this is the Cannes Film Festival, which was founded in 1946. I'm sure like in the title it's kind of obvious what it is. It's a film festival, but it's sort of different. It sort of goes against Hollywood norms and sort of champions interesting storytelling and political ideas. But it does have a diversity problem. Only 2 black women have ever had films in the competition. And in regards to women, in 2018, it was only 9%, but in 2023, it was at its highest of 33%. So, that's some change. Not for black people.
33% of women. Films celebrated were like produced by women?
Yeah, were made by women.
Okay.
But there was no black filmmakers in 2024. Which is tight. But it has given us classics like Fahrenheit 9/11, Pulp Fiction, The Pianist. So, Tef, is the Cannes Film Festival a net positive or not?
Just based off what you said about 2024 and the amount of black producers in 2024, it's a net negative. I ain't having that. That's awful. I was kind of on the fence going into this, but
we'll pull back the curtain. Before the episode, Tef was like, I'm not sure what I'm going to say. Like, it was like, it'll come to me though. And I probably said that and it was like, it's come to me.
Thank you. Yeah, I just think something like film or a film festival, the extent to which like I'm gonna think is a positive or not is the extent to which it can highlight marginalized stories. Can it highlight the stories of people that aren't gonna get recognition in mainstream like media and who aren't gonna necessarily get massive audiences just because of the way the capitalism around media works. If you're a marginalized producer and you're doing a marginalized story, it's just difficult to get mass appeal. The diversity problem is kind of trumps all other problems. I do appreciate though that Cannes Film Festival does do a little bit to like, they try.
They try,
It's not like they're completely exclusionary.
So like part of me always feels that it's always tough because when we talk about these sort of issues, I'm always like, is this an arm of a larger system or is the arm infected as well? Does that make sense? Like, is this the fault of capitalism, or is it the fault of the Cannes Film Festival? And it seems like it's more the fault of capitalism and white supremacy. Whilst like Cannes Film Festival's trying to affect that. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah. But when we're sitting here discussing it, there has to be an appreciation that if they exist within that system and they benefit from existing within that system as an arm of that system, they still have to bear responsibility. It's not just that capitalism's at fault and we can say the Cannes Film Festival don't have responsibility because they're just operating within this white system.
Of course they have responsibility, but that's why I think they're trying to do what they do to attack that. Do you get what I mean? Like, understanding that they have that responsibility and then producing films like Fahrenheit 9/11, for example, which is like a...
Did they produce that, or are you saying they celebrate?
Sorry, not produce, celebrate.
Okay, yeah, cool.
And I think that won like the highest award there. And it might be the only documentary to actually do that. But that is the idea. They're so politically charged, and it's supposed to be against Hollywood's norms and against what Hollywood sort of stands for with like the formulaic structure, and it's supposed to push boundaries. I feel like it's doing the right thing, which for me then makes it a net positive. Obviously, it has issues, but like, for example, the women, it was 9% in 2018, and now it's 33% in 2024. Like, in 2023, it was 29% in 2024.
That's a pretty significant drop.
Around that time was the Me Too movement, right?
Okay,
so like, what happens in this sort of society that we live in, this capitalistic, white supremacist patriarchy, right?
Yeah.
You don't realize that you are a benefiter of it until it's kind of too late.
Yeah.
And then in around 2018, people realized they were benefiting from patriarchy in a way they probably didn't realize.
White men
In particular. And then as a result, has changed that and tried to improve that.
I see what you're pointing at. Like, is that increase as a result of Me Too, or can we give Cannes some credit for adapting the way they operate in response to Me Too?
Once they know something to be true, they make a change, if you understand what I mean. And as a result, for me, obviously, like, if you haven't clocked it, it's a net positive.
Is there a part of you, is there a cynic within you, though, that's like, Cannes have just cynically responded to Me Too because they've been forced to? It's like they knew what they were doing beforehand, they got nabbed, and now they're just correcting it. Is there not part of you that thinks that's a possibility too?
Didn't really consider that.
I think that's probably actually what's happening.
That's a fair argument. Like, we don't know, but that is a fair argument. But then I also always argue, like, well, the benefit's still happening, isn't it? Like, do you know what I mean? So like whether they got nabbed or not, like, well, women are now benefiting from it, so that's a good thing.
Yes, that's completely fair.
All right, cool. Thank you for joining us. See you soon.
Take care. See you next week.
Much love.
I think I've got the 160 in the middle.
Okay. 44. We'll see if they're still recording. All right.
Cool.
Happy days.
It's funny that you spoke about the capitalist critique as well. So, and this is slightly away from Cannes specifically, but this is towards like media in general. I wanted to talk about this, like, this critique of capitalism being sort of muted, or like the potency of it being reduced when it's actually being shown to you via capitalism, if that makes sense. So if you remember in Severance, right, the guys are kind of rebelling against Lumen, right? Lumen is the man, the capitalist structure, like that's the symbol. And the employees are kind of rebelling against Lumen. Lumen is, in my sense, like the symbol for capitalism. The four guys, they rebel. They finally, you know that switch where they get to come out of their confine and go to the real world. And they kind of complete that rebellion in season 1. Spoiler alert. And in season 2, Lumen sits them all down in a room and shows them a video of their own rebellion against Lumen. Right? And in showing them the rebellion and kind of celebrating their own rebellion, I actually think Severance is trying to say this is how capitalism can absorb critiques of itself and commercialize that critique of itself within capitalism. So going back to what we're talking about in Black Mirror episode 1, that episode is being shown to us via capitalist platform for profit. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Capitalism is at a point where it can absorb the critique of itself and recommodify it back to us and sell it back to us. So we get to feel like, in some sense, we are enjoying a critique, but the capitalists still win.
But I'm not hugely against capitalism. Like, I'm more against, say, unregulated capitalism. Like, capitalism as like a sort of economic structure, I don't think it's terrible. Like, I actually don't.
Yeah, but you've agreed with me in the past that we are at a point where capitalism is we're seeing the after effects of unregulated capitalism.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Right? So we're both in the same place that we both are in a position where we want to critique it.
Yeah.
But if the critiques themselves are being absorbed, recommodified, and sold back to us, where does that leave us? Now, it's worth saying that
so you're essentially saying, let me be very clear here. You're saying the shows are exhibiting critiques of capitalism and they're turning it into a show for us to watch.
Correct. And that means that you actually can't rebel against capitalism. There are academics that say this is actually a sign that we will never actually leave the grips of capitalism. I wouldn't go that far, but it definitely makes it a lot more difficult. And now, if we go back to the Severance example, it's kind of like a critique of capitalism that is embedded within another critique of capitalism. Because yes, it's critiquing capitalism, but what it also shows is that whenever capitalism commodifies critique and sells it back to us, it takes away the part of the critique that actually made the difference. So the guys, they sit in the room and they get to see their own revolution like shown back to them. What they're doing technically is what we are doing when we watch Netflix. Do you get my point there?
Yeah.
But what happens is PT, the guy who actually died for the revolution, and the doctor who killed the brother, right? She employed genuine violence to help that revolution. Those two people are very suspiciously missing from the actual revolution. Those two people started the revolution, right? Without them, it doesn't happen.
Mm.
And that's why, like, us watching the critique is kind of problematic, because what we see and enjoy is a bastardized form of the revolution. And if we use that critique to move in the real world, we might never get this done. We might never change capitalism. We might never escape from the grips of excessive capitalism.
Nah. Obviously, you just dropped a bomb on me now.
Yeah.
So, this is one part of the episode, I won't lie to you.
But do you see like how if it wasn't for the doctor and Severance or Petey started this whole shit. Petey like coming out and trying to contact Mark is the reason why Severance starts as a concept, right? If the doctor doesn't kill that brother and he goes back, Mark's done. If she doesn't give him the key off the security guy, I forgot his name, and puts it in Mark's pocket and tells him how to navigate within the Lumen building, none of this happens. But they don't get shown in the film. They can't. Because the violence of the revolution would then be highlighted, which is the actual problem for Lumen. Do you not think that that says something about where we are today?
Nah, I'm always cautious to say like one show has that much of an impact, if you know what I mean.
Sure. I just think it's highlighting something that is in real, happening in real life, whether it's Severance or like.
But how is it happening in real life?
We're watching critiques of capitalism on Netflix. We're enjoying Netflix recreations of capitalist critique.
You must understand that like not everyone sees it like that. Some people just see it as like, oh, going to work, I could be like a different person. That is genuinely how some people see the show.
Or which one, Severance or episode
Severance.
Nah.
And the
Yeah, I guess so, but
do you know
like,
what I mean? And the dynamics of that. That's how some people watch the show. They don't watch it as like a critique of capitalism.
it's got to be some sort of critique of the workplace at a minimum for some people, right?
Yeah.
This idea that you need to separate yourself.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
critique
You're
of
a
the
different
workplace,
person
yeah.
at work. Yeah, but like I can't help them people. Like I'm talking about, I guess, my own perspective.
It's really interesting, but I think if anything, it could spark something in people as well.
Yeah.
Like particularly the Black Mirror episode.
Yeah.
I feel like that could like Severance is a little bit more complex.
Yeah, it's a bit more complex, nuanced, and layered.
Exactly.
Yeah,
whilst that Black Mirror episode can like spark something in people.
Yeah, 45 minutes, like you can, it's definitely digestible. But I worry that we're just sitting there enjoying capitalist critique, and we feel like we might be doing something when it's actually the opposite. The thirst for like capitalist critique is quenched, so you go to sleep thinking you've done something, or you at least had a revolutionary thought, right? But actually, that energy.
But I do think it does take multiple thoughts to get there.
Yeah, and you reckon
it does take a period of time. Like,
is at least helping along the way.
That's how I kind of saw it. Because I do think it takes a while to slightly get there and connect all the dots before you're like, we need a revolution.
That's fair.